question for you. How many of you know something about the incarceration of Japanese Americans during World War II? Okay. Some of you know a bit about it. Today's going to be pretty special. You are going to learn more about it than you probably ever understood. And it's very important that we do. You'll see some artifacts, you'll see videos, and you're going to have an opportunity to hear from people who lived through this experience. Why is this so important? Does anybody know? Go ahead.
So we don't do it again?
Thank you. You know, the United States is a pretty phenomenal country, but we've had some pretty dark periods in our history. And it's our duty to learn history to avoid repeating the mistakes of the past, right? So like I said, we have the tremendous honor today of hearing from people who experienced this firsthand. You're going to hear from living history.
The Japanese people living in America were in a state of shock on December 7, 1941, after the bombing of Pearl Harbor. On February 19, 1942, President Roosevelt signed Executive Order 9066, which allowed the military commanders to expel Japanese Americans from the state of California. The Japanese Americans living in Uptown were told to gather at St. Mary's Episcopal Church to go to camp. At 12 noon on Wednesday, April 29, 1942, about 1,000 Japanese people were assembled at St. Mary's. About 20 yellow school buses were parked in a row in front of the church. There was also a line of small trucks waiting anxiously. I was 8 years old when I got on a bus with my mother and 3 older sisters. My father was in a steak truck that he used in his grocery business. Shortly after 12 noon, the caravan started towards Santa Anita. After a while, I saw the San Gabriel Mountains up ahead. Then the caravan entered Santa Anita Assembly Center. As I got off the bus, I could see rows and rows of barracks. This scene of rows and rows of barracks have never left my mind.
I was 13 to 16 when I was incarcerated, first in Santa Anita Assembly Center, which is the racetrack, and I was put into the horse stables. The worst place I ever lived in my life, with the stench, whenever it got warm. Even worse than the front lines of Korea when I was in the service. When I first got there, I looked around and I saw the barbed wire fences 10 foot high. I saw the guard towers with the machine guns and the searchlights pointing inward. Up to then, they were telling us, they were putting us into these camps. This was the propaganda they gave us to protect us from the American public who was so angered about Japan attacking the United States. And I said, oh no, they're making sure that we're in here. And the next thought I had, with a shiver, was that, are they going to kill us all now that they put us in here? Of course, soon afterward, it wasn't like that because they had sing-alongs and they had talent shows, they had sports programs and Boy Scouts and things like that. So I knew then that they were not going to kill us.
And I'm going to share with you the different things that happened to my brother, sister, and me. Right after I turned 2 in November, early December, on December 7th, the Japanese attacked Pearl Harbor. Within a few days, the Army came onto my parents' property in Inglewood. My father had a nursery business, and the nursery was on the flight pattern to LAX, which was probably the reason that the Army came in. We had maybe 2-3 acres, and they put machine gun nests all around the property with anti-aircraft guns. They took out all the plants from the greenhouse, and that's where the soldiers bunked. It was a very stressful time for my father, and for my brother, who was 2.5 years older than me. He was able to understand a little bit more. So one day my father came in. I was sometime in January, and he asked my brother and me, "Do you want to go to Grandma's house?" And my brother immediately said, "Yes, I want to go." But then I said, "No, I don't want to go. This is our home, and we shouldn't have to leave." And so my father decided that I was right, and so we stayed. But February 19th, 1942, President Franklin Delano Roosevelt changed everything for us, because that was the day he signed Executive Order 9066. And so the end of April, our family was put on a bus, and we were taken to Manzanar. Now, I want to point out also, too, that even though I was a toddler at the time the war broke out, everything affected me all the way into adulthood. And I remember that even as an adult, on December 7th, unless I had to go to work, I stayed home purposely, because I was always so, I don't know how to describe it, felt guilty or whatever, but I didn't want to be out on December 7th, because I thought if a white gray-haired man saw me, he would remember Pearl Harbor, and I would be the one that was blamed. And it wasn't until like my late 40s that one day I said, "This is ridiculous." And I went to the post office purposely just so that I could stop what was a ridiculous reaction. But it stays with you, and you never forget it.
I wanted to speak out because I am a first-person speaker, and I had gone to camp, and I did experience the total program of what happened to us. And if my voice is gone, then you will not hear the first-person story again. And it is important because I think that it could always happen. History has a tendency to repeat itself, and that's the reason why I am here speaking to you.
The message I would like to impart to children, my own children and children of the world, is that you are very important, and we want you to have the best life ever. But knowing history will ensure that, because if you know your history, you will be able to make this civilization even better. My concern is that if you do not know your history and lose your way, then what we know to be America will vanish. We're a young country. I know there are many countries in the world, we study them, that come and go. In fact, Rome was huge, and they eventually fell. So my concern, again, is to the children, and what I really want you to do is protect this democracy and this idea that we call America.
As I learned about myself, and I kind of want to say to everyone here, this is more than just Japanese American history. This is not telling you, oh, we had it hard. This is about how you got to know your history. You have to talk to your family, learn about your past, and to think about, can this happen again? Right? So think about, is this happening again? Is this repeating itself? The fact that based off of what you look like, or what you believe in, or your religion, or some other opinion that you have, could make you feel discriminated, could make you feel attacked. An action of someone else, another country, could just lock you away. And think about how wrong that is, how much of an injustice that is. One thing I would like to end with is that, if you think about it, if you don't fight for others, who's going to fight for you?